Hi there, this is Andrea Mowry of Drea Renee Knits, and today I'm going to be demonstrating how to work this one row buttonhole. I'm going to be working it over 5 stitches, but depending on the size buttonhole you need, you can work it over more or less stitches. All right, let's go ahead and get started. We begin this buttonhole by moving our working yarn to the front of our work, and then we're going to slip 1 stitch purlwise. It's really important to slip our stitches purlwise unless your pattern says knitwise, because when we slip knitwise as if to knit, it will actually twist your stitch. So by twisting purlwise, it ensures that we aren't getting any twisted stitches where we may not want them. We are now going to return our working yarn to the back of our work, and we are now going to bind off 1 less than the total number of stitches we're using for our buttonhole. So I'm doing a 5-stitch buttonhole, so I need to bind off 4 stitches. So I'm now going to slip another stitch purlwise, and if you're new to slipping stitches, you just simply take your right hand needle tip, insert it into your stitch as if to purl, and then simply pass that stitch from the left hand needle over to the right hand needle. And now we're going to pass that first slipped stitch over and off to bind off 1. We're going to repeat that 3 more times. So slip and pass the stitch over, 2, 3, and 4. So now that we have bound off 4 stitches, we are going to return this final stitch back to our left hand needle, and then we're going to go ahead and turn our work. So we're now going to use the cable cast on method to cast on 5 stitches for the top of our buttonhole. So binding off those 4 stitches created the bottom, and now we are going to cast on stitches for the top. I will demonstrate the cable cast on starting continental, holding my working yarn in my left hand, and then I'll switch over and show you how to do that method English style, holding the yarn in your right hand. So with our yarn held to the back, we are going to basically just be knitting into the space between 2 stitches instead of actually knitting into a stitch. So I insert my needle tip in between the first and second stitch on my left hand needle, wrap my yarn, and knit. And then I just place this new stitch up onto my left hand needle. So now I'm going to do that once more, continental, and then I'll show English. So I've inserted my needle tip between the first and second stitch, wrap my yarn, and knit. Pop that new stitch up on my needle. English style, holding my working yarn in my right hand, still to the back of my work. And you'll notice that every time you're using your newest stitch as your first stitch, and then the following stitch. So again, inserting my needle tip between those 2 stitches. It might get a little tighter the more you cast on. You just want to try and remember to leave your new stitch a little on the looser side so you're not battling with it. So I knit through that space, and I'm placing it up onto my left hand needle. So that's 3 stitches. I'm going to cast on 2 more. This is number 4. And now for the last stitch, which for me is going to be my 5th stitch, I want to go ahead and knit my new stitch, but before I place it on my left hand needle, I'm going to bring my working yarn to the front of my work between my 2 needle tips, and now I'm going to place that final stitch up onto my left hand needle. You're now going to turn back so you're facing the front of your work again. And you may have noticed we bound off 4 stitches, but we cast on 5. And that's because here, to finish off our buttonhole, we're now going to slip 1 stitch from our left-hand needle, and this time we are going to slip it knitwise. And then we are going to pass the last stitch that we had cast on over and off. And there we go. That is our brand new buttonhole. You would just finish off your row per your instructions and you're good to go. And so this is a couple rows later, what that will look like. And I went ahead and added some written instructions for this one down below. So I hope you give it a try and enjoy it for your buttonhole needs. Happy knitting!